So today we're going to take our work with expressions in lesson 19 a step further and look at written expressions. So we are going to see the written version, and we will then have to write the numerical, the number expression that goes with it. And then when we are given the numerical version, we will also then solve. So for this first example, and we'll run through a handful of them and look at all the different possibilities, we need to look at the words that would potentially mean an operation. And there's many different words that can mean adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. There's even certain situations where we'll realize, well, because they said this word, we might even need parentheses. So let's take a look at this first example. What is the numerical expression of, so our actual expression here is half of the sum of 12 and 8. So half of the sum of 12 and 8. One of the key things here is that we have the word sum, we have half, and we have 12 and 8. The word sum is going to be important for us because it means something should already have happened. The sum means addition, but the answer to an addition problem. So using that word is going to matter. It means we should have already added the 12 and the 8. So the sum of 12 and 8. What are we doing to the sum of 12 and 8? We are doing half of the sum of 12 and 8. So there are going to be more than one way to show this. One of them is going to be, okay, well, if I have to have 12 plus 8, and that's supposed to happen first, I need it in parentheses. Remember, the sum is showing us that we have to have done that first. But if we have half of something, that would have been before in our order of operations. So in order to make sure that addition happens first, we need to put the parentheses around it. Now this half of, we could do times a half. And another way we could do this is still have the 12 plus 8. And because it's half of also means dividing by 2. So you could write them in that way as well. Now there is one other way, and not many people do it this way, but you could do a 12 plus 8 over that 2, because that fraction bar means what? To divide. So this way, it's a sneaky way of making you do the addition first without having to have parentheses, since it would have to be solved before you could divide. Okay? What about this next one? So we have, what is the numerical expression of 3 times the difference of 12 and 9? So 3 times the difference, that's a big word. What does that mean? This means subtraction, but it means to the answer to a subtraction problem. So we're finding the difference of what? 12 and 9. And we're going to do 3 times what that was. This means this has to happen first. So again, if we had just 12 minus 9 and then times 3, we would be multiplying 9 times 3 first if we didn't have parentheses. Another way to write this would be what we've learned from solving expressions, is that we'd still have the parentheses, but we know that as mathematicians, we don't have to have that multiplication sign there. It would just mean that we're going to multiply this answer by 3. Okay? So we're really looking out for these answer type words that tell us it would have already happened before we can do anything else to it. Let's look at example 3 then. What is the numerical expression of the difference, another one, of 12 and 9 multiplied by the product, of 5 and 3? So we have subtraction happening, and this is an answer word. We have multiplication happening, and then we also have another multiplication word, product. But this is an answer to a multiplication. Okay, how could we write this? Well, we have a little note here to ourselves. The comma is a clue to where to put the grouping symbol. So they do have a comma here, The difference of 12 and 9. Okay, so we know we're subtracting those two. Multiplied by the product of 5 and 3. So we're going to multiply this, but this has to be the answer is being multiplied. So we're going to have to put parentheses around that. And then multiplied by the product. Okay, so product means we would be solving these. 5 times 3, well, I need to put parentheses around those as well so that I can show that I'm multiplying those first. So be careful again, looking for all of those operation words. Example 4 is represented in a little bit different way. What expression does not represent the statement? All right, what statement do we have? We have divide the difference of 20 and 8 by the sum of 1 and 3. Sometimes just creating it yourself will help guide you and look at all the different ways that it can be written. And remember, we're looking for the way it is not going to be written. So we're going to divide the difference. Okay, difference is an answer word. Sum's an answer word. So we're going to do subtraction. We're going to do addition. All right, so we're going to find the difference of 20 and 8. And we're going to find, we're dividing this answer. Okay, there's more than one way to write this. And then we're dividing it by this answer, the 1 and the 3. Okay, and that was the sum, so I have to add. If I leave it like this, it's going to be incorrect because I'm supposed to have the difference, which means it would happen first. The sum would happen first. Then I would divide. So let's kind of look and see different ways that we could write this. So I see 20 and 8 happening first, plus 1 and 3, and then they would be divided. So this one does work. What would happen here? Oh, this is the exact same one we wrote. That works. What about this one? So, okay, we have 1 plus 3, and we have 1 plus 3, so that'd be sometimes solving too. We have 4, and then we'd be dividing it by 20, so that'd be a 5, and then so that would equal a 5, and then that would equal a 2, and then that would equal a 3. So just because the answer would be the same doesn't mean the expression works for what this is saying. I'd want to make sure that I am solving it in a way that this is asking me to. So this one would not have the difference happening before we divided. So therefore, it would not work. So see, that 20 and the 8 should be subtracted before we do any kind of dividing. And that wouldn't be what's happening because I divided before I would be subtracting. So this one does not work. Let's check out this one. Okay, I see subtraction. I see the addition. The only differences are parentheses. Let's see if we would actually find the sum first. Okay, so 20 minus 8, that would be 12. I'm going to drop down everything that I still have. What operation would happen next? The division would. So I didn't find the sum. This one would not work either. So we have two answers there. Two different expressions that technically would not show us dividing the difference of 20 and 8 by the sum of 1 and 3. Okay? All right, now we can even look at it in a story problem. So Chris ran 3 miles each day for 7 days in a row. One day, she ran an extra half mile. What expression represents how many miles Chris ran? So we're putting this all together, but the information they gave us, we have 3 miles, but that's each day for 7 days. So what operation do you think that would be? That would be multiplication. And then just one day, so we're not repeating any days. or for so many days. It's just one day she ran an extra half a mile. So what would happen there if it was just for that one day? We'd be adding it. So we can write 3 times 7 plus a half. Do I need any parentheses here? Do I have to have any? So if I had parentheses, it would make it happen first. What operation should happen first here? The multiplication. Is it automatically going to be first? Yeah, so you don't really need parentheses here at all. We can go ahead and start solving then, because that 3 times 7 is first, and we'd have 21. And we would do an extra half, and that would equal 21 and a half miles. And they're saying simplify the expression showing all operations. So simplifying means we're simplifying it down to our answer, okay? So we're solving, we're finding the solution. All right, let's see what Kylie is doing. So her and 3 friends equally divide, keyword there, the cost to rent a movie for $4. Okay. We have a hidden number here too. Kylie and her 3 friends. That's 4 people. Let's see what else continues happening here. And they ordered sandwiches for a total of $15. Okay. They also have a coupon for $3 off. That tells us something. What does it cost for each person to pay? So if each person's going to pay, what operation's happening there? Well, yeah, that division. Okay. And what are we dividing it by? Each person. So we are going to be dividing it by 4. But notice I left some space here because what are we dividing it by for? We are going to be dividing the cost to rent a movie for $4. Now, the $4 is for renting a movie just once. This isn't for each person. This isn't a ticket. So it's just going to have the $4 cost and then the sandwiches. So think of like streaming it. The $4 would be to download it. And so we're going to take that $4. We are going to add that 15 because that's just a total. We don't know, that's not each sandwich. We don't need to duplicate that. So here's how much it costs for the movie and the sandwiches. But then the coupon for $3 off the sandwiches. So we do want to be able to subtract those. Now, if you wrote it like this, what's going to happen first? The division. That's a problem. Okay, so we have to put in those parentheses so we can put the total together first. The other thing about the total is that $3 off. If we solve, we'd be using our language arts eyes and just going left to right. But it's not $3 off the movie, it's $3 off just the sandwiches. So some people, if you write it like this, you would have to do separate brackets inside of the 15 and the 3 so they could be separate. Some people might even write an expression like this. So the 15 minus 3 first, then you can add that 4 on. And then that way you really don't need those extra brackets at all. And then you can divide by 4. So either way, just realizing that we take away that 3 from the 15, not from the 4. So we can start solving. So also both, it doesn't matter. We should get the same answer because we're set up to do the right order. So 15 minus 3 is 12. We still need to bust out of these parentheses, and now that we're out of the brackets. And we also have not yet divided by 4. So then 12 plus 4 is going to be our 16. And then still need to divide by 4. That is going to be 4. So our solution for each person, they are each going to have to pay $4. Okay, so they would look the same here. It was just I can get out of the parentheses in 1 without the brackets. So I would still have it at 12. I would still need to do the 4. I'm still technically in the parentheses. Didn't bust out of them yet. 16 divided by 4. And that equals 4 still. Okay? And our last example before you start practicing on your own more, really focusing again on those story problems. We'll still get some phrases like the front where it's just a quick little phrase, but more often than not, our focus in 5th grade is going to be that we're looking at story problems. So Carol sells bracelets and pairs of earrings at a craft fair. Each item sells for $8. Okay, so note to self, earrings and bracelets. Those both cost $8. So I'm just kind of putting those notes to myself. Write and evaluate. Remember, that means to solve an expression to show how much money Carol will make if she sells 23 bracelets and 17 pair of earrings. They both cost the same thing. So how could we simply write this? There's more than one way, for sure. So let's see what you get. We could do, well, they sold 23 and 17. And they all cost what? 8. We can't leave it like this, though. Why? We'd be multiplying first and then just adding on how many we bought. We want to multiply all of the items that were bought by 8. So we really need parentheses around the total of bracelets and total of earrings that were sold. Now, another way you could have written this, but I think this one's longer and silly, is that you could do 8 times 23, and then you could also do 17 times 8, showing that separate bracelets and earrings. But you would need to do those separate. Now, I technically don't need those parentheses there because you would have to multiply first before you would add them together. We'll still get the same answer, but see how multiplying both by 8, I might as well just put them together first and then multiply by 8. So 23 plus 17 is 40. Times that by 8. You can do that mentally because it is 4 times 8 is 320. And then we're talking about dollars. 320. So really marking up the problem is going to be huge for us here in understanding what's happening in the story problem. There's always going to be more than one step and multiple things to consider. So we'll have to really dissect and find those math pieces inside our problems. All right, now you're going to practice. It's called practice 2 on Edulastic. Show all of your work, number it, and I can't wait to see it back in class.